Hi, I'm Chuck Dorsett for Weaver Leathercraft, and this is the Leather Element. If you've got a good question for us or a good idea for a Leather Element, drop it in the comment box below. Now this week, great question coming in from Dennis. Thank you very much. What are our options for cutting leather? Well, let's go through 6 of them, and we're going to do an upside and a downside. So therefore, if you're new to leather, it's going to be the perfect resource. But also, if you're new, you're going to be a little bit surprised at my choice. Well, if you've watched some of our videos, probably not terribly surprised, but it's a little bit out of the box. And the reason is, it's comfortable in my hand and it gives me the best cut. Ease and outcome, that's all we're looking for, all right? Let's start right here with a craft knife. Now, there are 2 places in my shop where I cannot live without this tool. First off, in our videos, if you've seen us set spots by hand, that's exactly right. That is the perfect tool. Clean, tight, and sharp, all right? The second place, cutting a filigree, and again, from a past Leather Element. This allows me to really get into tight little cuts and curves. It's the perfect tool, all right? The downside, I don't necessarily want to cut leather with this. Now, garment weights, upholstery weights, well, we can, but what's going to happen is we're going to ding that sharp little point in no time. It's going to drag on our leather, and we've all heard that sound. It's like fingernails on a chalkboard, right? But the bigger problem is that that blade is not as sturdy as I would like. For the filigree cuts, no problem. But when we're working with heavier leather, what's going to happen is that blade's going to wag on me, and it's going to give me an uneven cut, particularly when I go around a corner, and I don't want that. So for cutting leather, probably not the best option, all right? Let's step over to our next option, scissors. Now, we can cut our heavier weights with our scissors, but that's probably not the best way to go. We may want to save these, again, for our garment, upholstery, maybe lighter veg tan. Quick sales pitch. We've got long reach, and look at the curve on that. I can really fine tune an edge with that. Now, when we jump over to our Gingras, I absolutely love these. First off, no issue if I want to cut a round corner, easily done on a medium weight veg. But look at this. This is about a 9 to 10 ounce, right through it. No issue. Very sharp. All right. The downside here, really I can cut my heavier weights. But what's going to happen is if I cut too much distance, it's really going to tear up my hands. And secondly, for those of us who are really not top-notch at sharpening, that's going to be tough to sharpen. So we need to get these sharpened professionally. But other than that, scissors, great way to go for our lighter weights. Now, the rotary knife. This is a great knife for cutting garment weight and upholstery weight, but again, maybe not so much for the heavier leathers. I can push or draw, very sharp blade. Now, downside, basically, I have a little bit of a hard time cutting a good round corner with that. It's not bad, but getting a little tighter gets a little bit tough. Also, the blade's a little tough to sharpen. If we're not good at sharpening blades, this one's going to be tough to get consistent, and the blades are a little bit expensive to replace. One more point on the downside. The worst wounds I've seen in leather come from the rotary knife. But short of that, great, very sharp blade. Now we're going to jump over to my favorite. In fact, a box cutter. If you watch our videos, I use this for everything. First and foremost, very comfortable in my hand, and the blade's very sharp. But the one trick is I've gotten myself used to, every time I pick up this knife, I can easily close it. Therefore, I don't have an open blade on my table. But also, I can get into very tight corners, very tight cuts, and my round corners easily cut. Okay, with this, we can go just about any weight, garment weight and up. Here, 13 to 14 ounce. So what I'm going to do is make a cut. All right, not going to try to cut all the way through the leather, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to trade pressure for control. So therefore, if I drop my blade angle low, my knife is going to follow that same path. And look at that, 3 cuts right through. My hand is not fatigued in the least. But also, right here, I've got a small star drawn out. Let's see how fast I can cut this simply with a box cutter. And there we go. I think that was probably about 10 seconds. But look at my inside corners. Very clean and easy. Again, easy on my hand. Now, I can't really give you a downside here because it's comfortable in my hand. The blade's easy to replace. We don't have to sharpen these. But what I would suggest, we sell our blades in a 100-pack box. The great thing about that is I'm not hesitant ever to pop out an old blade, drop a new one in, and I'm cutting away with a very sharp, clean, new blade. So in my opinion, utility knife, box cutter, the best way to go. All right, let's take a quick minute with a trim knife, because this is my least favorite way to cut leather. Old school, absolutely, because what I can do is I can come up from underneath my pattern, let that hang off the table, and I can cut. So visibly, I can see exactly where my cut is, and I can tell too from my knife that my cut is straight up and down. I'm not going to demonstrate this because all I can make out of this is a mess. All right. Second way we can use this, a little bit more helpful. If I'm going to lay in a welt or a back piece or a liner, what I want to do is overcut that liner and then trim the face. That makes it look just like it was die cut. Well, in this situation, I've got my welt, and what I want to do is let this hang off because I've got a bow here now. If I try to cut this, I can press down and get a pretty straight cut, but all told, it's not going to be as clean as I want. So I can start this, and this knife has to be as sharp as I can make it, not one of my strong points. But I can bring this in, and with this, I can trim my welt right to my face. Therefore, I get a very clean cut. Well, in this case, I didn't get a very clean cut. I'd have to keep working on it. But a trim knife, all kinds of variations, but all told, not one of my favorites. Now, the last two we're going to talk about are a round knife and a head knife. Super old school, traditional leather cutting tool. This has three uses. I can cut, I can skive, and I can bevel, and we'll do all three. But there's a difference between a round knife and a head knife. Now, I don't have a head with me, but a round, notice, it's fully circular from a central point. Head knife is going to be circular to a certain point, then it's going to flatten out as it enters the bottom of the blade. Therefore, with that, I can make tighter curves or cuts than I can with a round knife. Now, with this, must be sharp. We've got to sharpen this constantly, okay? So cutting, I can simply cut, no problem. Makes a clean cut. Secondly, I can bevel. And this is a trick because you've got to have an easy hand. There we go. So I can bevel. And third, I can skive. And right here, look at that skive. I can put that right down to a feathered edge if I want to. So therefore, three tools in one. Little tough to control in my opinion, and we've got to sharpen it regularly. But again, old school traditional tool. Now, one more note on the round and the head knife. Tough tool to get used to, so if you struggle with it, don't feel bad. In fact, at the last couple of shows, I've had several people walk up and almost in a hushed tone say, you know, I just can't get the hang of the round knife. Don't feel bad. Join the club. In fact, a lot of us struggle with that. But the saddle makers, the top-end leather workers, working with that heavy leather, that's the perfect tool for the job. For me, not so much. We've got a wide array of tools that will bevel for us, or skive for us, or cut for us, where we're a little more comfortable. And if we're comfortable, we're confident, therefore, we get a good cut. So I hope this is good information for you. Thanks for taking time to watch The Leather Element. Good luck with your projects.